Hey fam, wanted to come on here and share what I think are the most important things to understand, to know about this Libra solar eclipse that we have on Wednesday, October 2nd, exactly at 2:49 p.m. East Coast time, including the fact that it will be together with the asteroid Lilith, very juicy. It'll be together with Mercury. It's in a tough relationship with Mars. So I want to talk about how to really understand these things, how to navigate them, and some practical steps that you can use to really get the most out of this eclipse season in terms of your own personal development and evolution. So let's break it down from the top. A solar eclipse is a new moon, but think about the themes of death and rebirth becoming ever more potent, because literally the sun, as we saw a few, in the springtime, the perfect total eclipse in the United States, right? The moon blocked out the path of the sun and it got dark for a little bit and then everything came back on. So the metaphor I like to really use is thinking about, turning a light switch off and turning it back on, or turning your computer off and then turning that back on. It's a reset. And sometimes with the reboot, it takes a little bit of time for things to come back online. But generally, when you do it with your computer, things run faster once they come back online, right? So there's a reset that happens with the solar eclipse. It's a major turning point. It's an inflection point for you individually, but also for all of humanity. So this one is happening in the sign of Libra, and it's part of this series of eclipses that have been happening in Libra, starting, I think, October 14th of 2023. Then we had and that was a solar eclipse. Then we had a lunar eclipse in March of this year. And now we have the final Libra eclipse for this cycle. And so it brings in the themes of Libra. So Libra is the scales. Libra is eternally weighing. So with this Libra eclipse, the themes of justice, fairness, equality, and balance are going to be really, really profound in your life and in the collective, in the news and what's happening. Now, probably the most important thing for each of us personally is going to be how this eclipse is going to impact our relationships. And that's really the area where I want you to focus and really contemplate what's already stirring there, what's coming up. And so let's already weave in Lilith. So Lilith in the Torah was the first wife of Adam before Eve. And basically, she was focused on equality, and Adam wanted her to be subservient. And she was like, nope, not gonna do it. They had a back and forth, and eventually she left. So Lilith represents the two major aspects of this polarity in regards to the feminine. So this is really important for women, and for men, this is gonna really play out in your own feminine energy dynamics. So here's the pole, right? The shadow side is where we feel abandoned, where we feel cast out, where we maybe feel betrayed, and then reacting from a place of victimhood, from a place of fear, from that fear of inequality, and then lashing out in a reactive, destructive, fear-based way. The higher octave, or the balanced manifestation of Lilith, is the autonomous, liberated, free, independent woman or feminine energy. And so for men, really think about this like your artistic energy, your intuitive energy, your relationship with your own feminine nature. So equality is really going to be a big theme with this eclipse. Okay, and it'll play out over the next several weeks, but what I would really, really recommend that you pay attention to and start maybe making some, doing some journaling and really focusing on the major relationships in your life, romantic relationships, close, maybe business, friends, family, and really focusing on and weighing, are these relationships based in equality? Has any dynamic of relationship gotten out of balance? Is there something not fair about the give and take or the exchange in regards to a relationship? And I don't mean just for one day. Of course, you know, in any relationship, someone may need someone more than the other any day. But I'm talking about the long term, the bigger picture of these relationships. So really pay attention to that. This is something that is likely to be reset. This eclipse is in a square in a really challenging friction-based relationship with Mars. So if there is not equality and integrity in that in your relationships, then fighting or competition or battling, like excess heat, can really, really rise, and probably stemming from that sense of inequality, right? So if there is conflict showing up in relationships at this time, again, I want you to really reflect on, is there equality? And am I reacting out of that place of victimhood? Am I projecting onto my partner or onto my friend? Or am I coming from a place of wholeness and sovereignty? That's the highest manifestation of Lilith. The other big thing that weaves this in is it's exactly aligned with Mercury. So communication, expression, that's how this is really going to play out. And so what I would really, again, recommend, in addition to journaling, is talking about this with your friends, with your partner, with family members. You know, first you can really contemplate it on your own, but where are you out of balance? Where are things out of balance? Alignment, integrity, fairness in relationships, right? Have those discussions, because if you don't, things are likely to blow up in your face at some point in the near future. So another cool thing with this eclipse is you can think about the 3 steps. October of 2023 is when the cycle began. Then part 2 is the lunar eclipse in the spring. And then this one is the final Libra eclipse for a while. So of course, on the world stage, justice, fairness, equality, integrity, and the truth, social justice, these are themes that are going to even more explode and really come into a prominent space. It's also very interesting with Lilith and equality, and you know, what we're seeing here in the United States is we have a man running versus a woman for the president, and regardless of what you think politically, there is an aspect of the feminine in, you know, that I would say it'll be very interesting to see how things shake out in terms of how the collective relates to the archetype of Lilith over these next several weeks, because this is really, you know, this eclipse is just a few weeks out from the election. So pay attention with these underlying themes really playing out in the media. And the final thing I want to add in regards to this eclipse is eclipses are times where we can really access our free will in a much greater capacity. The metaphor that I was sharing on my Instagram some days ago was about Jeopardy. Eclipse season is like the daily double in Jeopardy, right? Typically, we're just going, you know, you're playing Jeopardy and each thing is worth what it's worth. But then, at some point, someone hits the daily double and suddenly the stakes get raised and you can wager something. You can take an extra bet. And so, eclipse season, there is this matching of the universe, of the energy, where we can have these quantum leaps or major shifts in our lives and go in new directions or paths. It's much more supported during this time. And so the big area I would really say is pay attention with relationships with this. But also for, if you want to take things a little bit further, find out what house you have the sign of Libra in your chart. And this will be an indicator of the areas of life really to pay attention to, where a major new beginning and a reset and a rebirth is likely to take place. And you can also reflect back to October and March, what shifted in that area since then. So please type some comments or questions in the chat if you're curious about anything, and happy eclipsing.